diggity, diggity dog. Breaking, diggity, diggity dog. Breaking.
All right, everyone. It is May 20th, 2021. This is the Branded MMA Show. I'm your host, Shavi. With me, as always, is number 3 in the UFC main event pickoff extravaganza settings, Walsh. And below him is second place. And I don't want to say that you can't, there's no way you win this, but there is a way I think you can come back, Mac, and dethrone me as the number 1 in the pickoff standing. So I'm giving respect where respect is due.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. No, I agree. We got a good card this weekend. I mean, pretty good. We got a good main event at least.
Yeah, you know what? Not every card is going to be a home run in terms of star power. And when the card's put behind ESPN Plus like this on a fight night, you don't really come in expecting that. But those are usually the cards that over deliver. The ones you're just kind of like, do I have to make time for this weekend? You're definitely gonna make time for the main event. Rob Font, Cody Garbrandt, going to be a hell of a fight. But it's like this is on at a reasonable time with the main card, where it's like, you know what, you could make the time to watch this card. It starts at 7 p.m. for the main card, and I believe 5 p.m. for the prelims. That honestly, that's an ideal start time for fight nights for me. 8 o'clock for the main card. It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, I agree. And while I may be number 3 in the pickoff extravaganza, I know for a fact that I am number 1 in the hearts of all you Branded MMA Show fans out there. And that's really honestly all that matters. So,
So you'll win the fan award, the favorite amongst the pickoff competitors, but me or Mac are going to win the actual title that matters, where I believe we're going to try to get a belt of some sorts for that, or a crown, depending on who wins. I'm more of a championship belt guy, being a wrestling fan since I was in diapers. And Mac is correct me if I'm wrong, you're a Game of Thrones fan, right? Or you were before the 8th season? Yeah.
No, I'm a Game of Thrones fan. 8th season kind of ruined it, but that's okay. I still recommend the show to people, even though the ending's bad.
Okay, and that's a true fan right there. And so what I was getting at is, you being a Game of Thrones fan, I think you're going to probably go for the crown, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. If you were to win the pickoff extravaganza, can we have it on record you're wearing a crown?
Yeah, I'll wear a crown.
Okay, that's what I thought. And Mac, or Walsh, sorry, we'll get you a sash or something, a participation sash.
Yeah, listen, that's all I asked for. Fan favorite, okay? We all can't be great, There's UFC fighters that, may not have the best records, but they're fan favorites. Everyone loves them. That's true. Why? Because they go out there and they compete night in and night out, and they give it everything they got. It's all what you got here in your heart.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was actually thinking about this the other day. One of my favorite fighters that wasn't never really in title contention, had a few eliminator fights, but really came up short in those, that I really appreciated in the early days of my UFC fan career. Tyson Griffin, that dude always brought it.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he's like a name you just remember, because he always brought it. He always threw down. He always had good fights.
Yeah, he did. UFC Best of 2007 DVD. I bought it at an FYE way back in the day. His fight versus Frankie Edgar on there, I think it was their debuts. It was both their debuts. They won Fight of the Night. Absolute banger of a match. If you can find that DVD, I recommend watching it. Or I guess you could go to UFC Fight Pass or something. But watching on the DVD is just a trip in itself.
Yeah, that is a trip to think about.
Yeah, but what's gonna be? Someone's taking a trip to the baptized universe this weekend in the form of our bantamweight main event, which we're gonna kind of break down this card here. We got Rob Font versus Cody No Love Garbrandt in a bantamweight showdown. You have to think title implications are on the line for this. Even though we are seeing a little bit of a logjam at the top of the division between Peter Yan and Sterling, and then Sandhagen, Dillashaw. You have to think, if we're to see Yan and Sterling matched up again for the rematch, the winner of Sandhagen Dillashaw, if they're looking to stay active, the winner of this fight has to be, in contention to fight that winner potentially.
Yeah, I mean, it's I mean, a log jam is a perfect way to put it. It's with that controversial finish between Jan and Sterling, that really kind of fucked up a lot of the things here, or a lot of the matchups here. I mean, we have to wait for that rematch if that happens, and then I would assume that the winner of Dillashaw and Sandhagen would get the title shot. But if Cody or Rob really bring it in spectacular fashion this weekend, they're obviously not out of line for a title shot. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, and with these matchups, because they're going to be very, very good fights, and we'll see what happens with the winners. But certainly a crowded top here, much like the lightweight division.
Yeah, and much like the lightweight division, I think it's going to be a carousel of champions. I know that's a phrase I'm looking to cement as my own on this show, so I'm just going to keep saying it. Carousel of champions. We're going to see it in the bantamweight and the lightweight division, and we're going to kind of touch on that a little later in the show when we do some friendly debates here. But Walsh, let's get your thoughts on the fight first. We'll break it down. Rob Font, Cody Garbrandt. It's a pick 'em right now. You pick either guy. You're not going to win any money. I believe that's how the gambling works. If you do a pick 'em, I don't know. Walsh is more the gambler than I am. But let's get your thoughts on the fight.
I'm excited for it. I think we kind of announced the last show that I'm a pretty big Cody Garbrandt fan. Love his work. Love him in the octagon. He's very entertaining, great fighter. Rob Font, haven't seen too much out of him, honestly. Not too familiar with him. But from what highlights I've seen and stuff, he looks dangerous. I think it's a good fight for Cody to bounce back here and get back on track to where he needs to be. And kind of going off what you guys were talking about with, where we go after this, which one of these guys being in possible title contention, I think what we do see is we end up seeing the rematch between Sterling and Jan, and then I think the winner of this gets the winner of Dillashaw and Sandhagen. And I tell you what, I am chomping at the bit to get a Cody Garbrandt TJ Dillashaw rematch. I want it. I need it. That's what I want to see.
And even though Dillashaw is up 2-0, I mean, you think Garbrandt wins, and then obviously, if that's the case, we're seeing a fourth fight, which is very rare in UFC. I don't think correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we've seen any people matched up 4 times against each other. But is that the road you think we're going to eventually take? Being a Garbrandt fan.
That's the road I want. That's what I want to see. I mean, listen, the last fight, Dillashaw, he was a cheater. He was on steroids. He cheated. Yeah. So
it is
it's unfair. He got suspended, and it's not the first time. So do I think that had to play a factor in it? I'm not usually one of those guys that say steroids are, really that much of a difference. You lose a fight, you lose a fight. But I am willing to use that as an excuse.
Well, I believe
I'm not above using that as an excuse.
Well, Walsh, I think you're onto something there, because if I'm not mistaken, Dillashaw was on EPO, which is kind of like helps blood and oxygen in some way. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head. I got a C- in science all throughout school, straight C's. But I do think that we're not doctors here. We don't claim to be. But I think that would play a factor in conditioning and all that for the fight. So I think, you can wonder, did that play a role in Garbrandt's losses to Dillashaw? I think also something to take into account is he was very reckless in both Dillashaw fights. Kind of the polar opposite of what we saw in his title win over Dominic Cruz. And that's something I think he's looked to change since then. We saw him obviously knock out Rafael Sunsao at the buzzer. And I think this will be a true test against someone who's willing to stand and beg with him, just to see how much reserved Cody Garbrandt will be in the cage, and how he'll be, if he can kind of be controlled chaos, I guess is the phrase to say with Cody Garbrandt this weekend. That's his key to win. So Mac, are you in the same boat with Walsh here? You think Garbrandt is winning this fight?
Yeah, I think it's going to be very close and very competitive. I think the longer it goes, actually, it probably will favor Rob. I think Cody wants to probably get out of there early. Rob's going to be very dangerous later in this fight. So we'll see. Although Cody has that championship experience, he's been in a 5-round war with Dominic Cruz. So, I don't think Cody would be would struggle too hard in the later rounds. But if I were to pick someone, I think I would take Cody by KO, probably in the second or third round. I think is a safe bet. But man, Rob's a Boston guy, so it hurts to pick against him. But he's certainly on his way. I mean, he's 33, so not super young, but he's rattled off 3 in a row, and that knockout against Marlon Moraes in his last fight was really, really awesome. Got a performance tonight, and so man, he's super dangerous. So I wouldn't be surprised if Rob won this one bit, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. But I think the safe bet would be Cody, and I'll take Cody in this. But I don't think Dana wants to see Cody and TJ again. Probably not in a very long time. I think that's probably at the bottom of their list for what they would want to do.
But do you think, Mac, though, if there's no title on the line in that fight, do you think it's easier to make because it's almost like we have to match these guys up as top contenders, and we can get away with that in a co-main event of a pay-per-view or even headlining a fight night on ESPN or ESPN Plus? Do you think that would maybe make it a little easier for Dana to maybe go, okay, let's match them up again?
I just don't know what I don't know, what the feeling would be for, a 2-0 trilogy fight. It's very hard to, TJ clearly won those 2 fights. Cody struggled big time.
Tainted though. Very tainted.
Yeah. But
that's the only thing.
TJ knocked him out. So it's tough. Very, very tough to sell that. And we'll see. I think they could match up down the road, but probably not anytime soon. I would say more probably towards that maybe 4th or 5th fight on TJ's comeback. But we'll see. I mean, it's very crowded up there, so it's going to be tough to see. I mean, there's definitely a lot of fresh matchups for TJ. He's never faced Rob Font, never faced Sandhagen. Of course, you got Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling. So there's a lot of fresh matchups for TJ as well that I think that they'll want to try first.
There is, and so that's why part of me thinks, the UFC is probably hoping for a Rob Font win to make that decision a little bit more easier for them for the future of the bantamweight division.
And not to get too, caught up on the TJ Dillashaw thing, but how many fights do we think he needs to get back into the title contention? How many wins does he need?
It's got to be 1 or 2. There's no way they're going to make him fight 3 times before getting a title shot. It's 1 or 2. If he knocks out Sandhagen, or dominates him, then he has every right to call for a title shot because Sandhagen's the number 1 contender after Yan and Sterling. So very tough to tell what they'll do if TJ wins that fight. Very tough to tell, but I'd say at most 2, obviously minimum 1. So we'll see. I don't know who the second one would be. It could be Rob or Sterling or Yan, maybe one of those 2.
Now I
just feel like it's inevitable for them 2 to meet again.
Yeah, I agree.
It could be.
I agree.
It could be.
I agree. There's a lot of contenders in the bantamweight division, but it's like those 2 are going to be perennial contenders, I believe, for the next couple of years. Unless Cody drops down to flyweight after this fight, I just see them crossing paths again. I know he's kind of talked about that before, but I mean, if he doesn't, you'd have to think we're going to see that fight at some point down the road. I do want to touch on Rob Font's track record here of wins recently. Like you said, he did knock out Marlon Moraes in his last fight at UFC Fight Night, Thompson versus Neal. His previous win is over Ricky Simon and Sergio Pettis, the current 135 champion over in Bellator. His 2 losses, Rafael Sunsao and Pedro Munoz. Just by common opponent here, we got Garbrandt knocking out Sunsao. They both lost to Munoz. I guess what I'm getting at here is we've seen Marlon Moraes on the wrong end of 3 losses now in the UFC to Cejudo, Sandhagen, and Rob Font, which is nothing to scoff at, not selling Moraes short. But Ricky Simon, I feel like this is a huge step up for Rob Font in a fighter ranking here. I get he's the number 3 guy in the division, but I just feel like this is a huge step up in competition for him.
Yeah, it's certainly the biggest fight of his life, for sure. I think I mean, of course, Cody's going to say it's the biggest fight of his career. We all know that's not true. I mean, the Dillashaw fights, the Cruz fight, were all massive and really hyped as well. So, not the biggest fight for Cody. It's definitely the biggest fight for Rob. Although Cody, has the claim where he knocked out Rafael, and he's been itching almost a year now to come back. So his back is still a little against the wall. He lost 3 in a row and then just won that one. So he needs a win streak to really claim a title shot. And so it's a big fight for Cody as well.
Yeah, the odds will tell you this is a close fight. The circumstances will tell you this is a close fight. Like you said, Cody fighting with his back against the wall, looking to chomp at the bit to get back into title contention. Rob Font looking to solidify his title contention status. I mean, really, this is one of those fights where, sometimes we see these matchups in main events where it's very clear that they're setting up a lesser known name in the casual fans' eyes with a named contender to try to push them up here. But like you said, both guys are looking to make a name in this fight. So Walsh, let's start with you. Who do you got winning this fight? I mean, you've kind of alluded to it with your fandom here. Let's make it official. Who do you got Saturday night winning?
I got Cody by KO. I think in those second or third round. I am definitely worried about Cody's chin though, because I mean we've seen it not hold up very well. And I'm kind of on the same side of Mac with the longer this goes, the more worried about Cody I am.
All right, so Mac, we got Walsh, KO, Garbrandt. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Very, very tough for me to call though. I do want to say it's not going to be surprising if Rob wins this. He's very capable of winning it. I just have that feeling with Cody this weekend, and I think Cody is a little more experienced and might be a little more composed in there than Rob will, which is crazy to think about because Cody was the less composed one in his championship losses. So, I think those losses have really turned Cody around, and we'll see. But I think he'll be a little more composed than Rob, a little more patient, and get that knockout in the third round. I think is good, but I think it'll be fight of the night as well. I think it's gonna be a great fight, very close. I think they both get clipped. Both get wobbled at some point as well, and it's going to be a good one. I think Cody, too, as I wanted to mention, he's in a good spot. I mean, I know we're talking about the Bantamweight division, but if Cody loses this, he probably could go down to flyweight and get a title shot right away. So Cody's in a good spot.
Yeah, he's in a great spot here, regardless of the fight. Obviously, he does want the W, though. I think just any other fighter does in that cage. I'm with you guys. The longer this goes, the more I see Rob winning, but I just don't see it going that long. Having said that, I think this is a 1 or 2 round fight that still gets fight of the night, and I think it's Rob Font that gets it done here, and not just because of the reckless abandon that Cody would throw. Like I said, I think he's past that, but I just think Rob tags him and the fight's over, and Rob Font gets it done for me, and I think we're gonna see some fresh matchups in that bantamweight division. Rob Font KO round 2.
It's a good call. I mean, you couldn't be. I mean, the odds even say it. You couldn't be more 50-50 on going into a fight. It's and I feel like we've said that a lot, but it's a great matchup. This is a great matchup. One of the best matchups of the year, really, talent wise.
Oh, absolutely. And it's put on ESPN Plus of all places. So, for $5.99 a month, you can watch this fight and watch a ton of fights in the back catalog as well. So really, I mean, and I feel like the ESPN Plus cards do a little bit more better pacing than what we see on regular ESPN. So, I mean, that's 7 o'clock start time. I don't see this going past 10 o'clock on a Saturday night for you. So just something good to throw on, grilling out, whatever, grilling with the boys, Garbrandt style, whatever you're doing. It's gonna be something you want to tune into to see.
Yeah, it's a good card. It's a little surprised. I don't know how they schedule it. I'm sure it's all planned out way ahead of time. But I think this would have been a great card to put on ESPN for regular fans to watch. But I don't know. I don't know how that works. That whole planning thing.
Yeah, it does always kind of confuse me the way we see. We've seen big fights. I believe Till versus Whitaker was on ESPN Plus. Yes. And then I know injuries do happen sometimes, but I think we've seen some other fights, not off the top of my head, but I just feel like I know we have, where it's like, how is this on ESPN right now when we just saw the former middleweight champion put behind the paywall.
Yeah, I feel like
even the ones they put on ABC.
Yeah. Well, they had Holloway Cater, which was good on the ABC.
And then
I just feel like
Holland versus Vettori, right, was the last ABC card.
Oh yeah.
See, and
that was very disappointing. That one.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That I see where Walsh is coming from there. That's a little weird.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a surefire fireworks fight. I mean, I'd put this on ABC.
Yeah.
I don't care.
No,
I don't care what the rest of the card looks like. We saw with Cater and Holloway. I mean, there was people that hadn't even watched UFC before that were tweeting, texting about it. I mean, it was nuts.
Yeah.
Well, you got to think though. I just realized this weekend is the first weekend of the NBA playoffs. So.
Yeah, I was actually I also just thought of that because my Celtics are playing the Brooklyn Nets on Saturday night as well. So
who cares?
Yeah, my Sixers got the 1 seed. Suck it, man.
Oh yeah, shit.
We don't.
Team fucking sucks.
Let's make this clear on the Branded MMA Show now. We don't give a shit about the Sixers, and we don't give a shit about the Bruins because we're Cincinnati fans here, okay? And we're just disappointed year round, so we don't talk about any other sports here. Unless the Bengals do good, then of course we'll talk about them. But until then, nothing.
Fair enough.
All right,
that's
fair enough.
I'm just goofing.
Shabby shut us down.
Yeah, I'm gonna tap for that. I'm shutting it the fuck down right now. But let's look through the rest of the card here. Let's run down through it real quick. We got a women's strawweight co-main event. And I know I said this last week when we talked about this fight, when we were looking ahead at the card. I'm going to butcher this name, but I'm going to try my best. We got Yan.
I'm not too sure how to pronounce it. Unfortunately, sorry.
Exonin versus Carla, the Cookie Monster Esparza. Carla, the plus 105 underdog. We got heavyweight matchup, Justin Taffa, the minus 190 favorite against Jared Vandera at plus 170. Women's featherweight, Felicia Spencer, former title challenger. And I got a little fun fact for you guys I read today. I'm going to throw this out here for you. Felicia Spencer has spent more time in the cage with with Amanda Nunes and Chris Cyborg than Ronda Rousey did in her professional career. In a cage, total time.
That's crazy.
That is nuts. To be in there with two of the probably most feared women in women's MMA history for the same amount of time Ronda Rousey spent in a cage her entire career is nuts.
It's insane to think about. Yeah. Wow. I did want to say, the women's strawweight co-main is actually it's probably a number one contenders fight. I did just want to point that out. Jan Zionin, I don't know how to pronounce it, but super talented. She's 6-0 in the UFC, 13-1 overall. So I think if she gets the win, she's going to get the title shot against Rose maybe. So
okay,
it's a good one. Low-key good one.
Yeah, strawweight fights I feel like rarely disappoint. I feel like, when people think of like solid fights in a division, they think finishes. I mean, I think strawweight has proven these fights can go the distance, and they're still entertaining as hell. I just hopefully that stigma's away by now. But yeah, it should be an entertaining fight. Like I said, Felicia Spencer, the +1 or minus 150 favorite over Norma Dumont, and then in flyweight we had David Dvorak, minus 150 favorite against Raulian Paiva, and then opening the card. Originally supposed to take place this past weekend at UFC 262. We have Jack Hermanson, minus 155 favorite over Edmund Shabazian, who's plus 135. There's your whole main card. Like I said, not a lot of star power outside the main event, but like Max said, we got a number one contenders fight in the co-main event for the strawweight division. That shouldn't disappoint. And then the rest of the card, like we said, lacking on name value, but those are usually the cards that over-deliver.
Yeah. Yeah, that middleweight fight's a great one. Perfect fight to open a card. Not doing Edmund very many favors. 23-year-old kid coming off his first career loss has to go up against Jack Hermanson here. So tough for Edmund, but good test. And I like Edmund. He's a big-time prospect in the sport. So 23 years old, man. It's crazy. And 10th in the middleweight division.
That is kind of weird to just, hey, you lost. All right, no step down in competition. We're putting you right back to the Sharks.
You would think they would give him someone a little easier than the number 7 middleweight.
Hey, you
Like-
never know what Papa Dana's got up his sleeve.
That's true. Yeah, we'll see.
Better,
Make or break.
better.
He's doing the make or break early on.
He is.
The
This
golden
is
boy.
See, this is where you don't see Dana White. This is Dana White's 2021 version of saying, "Do you want to be a fucking fighter?"
Yeah,
That's exactly what this is.
yeah.
No Dana White privilege here.
No
No.
Dana White privilege for Edmund Shabazian. Again, that is the main card. It's going to take place on ESPN Plus. Starts at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Seriously, what are you doing on a Saturday at 7 p.m. that you can't hang out with the boys and watch MMA? MMA with the boys.
That's all you need.
which a little fun fact that people listening right now don't know is we did a test show. I think we did talk about that in our first official episode of the show, and I labeled it MMA with the boys, and obviously it was a working title. Mac hated it, and rightfully so. It's not really a good name if you're trying to be legitimate in the MMA community, but just a little fun fact about a little peek behind the curtain.
It's okay. We made the right change, and it looks good.
I'm looking at it on the screen right now, and I'm saying whoever made that design is very handsome.
Yeah, very.
He's got a new haircut, and he's very handsome.
Yeah, very.
I mean,
You
that's
wanna
that's one person's opinion.
Yeah, before we got on the air tonight, Walsh was asking me about my haircut, and I talked about it, and you could hear my girlfriend audibly groaning in the background because she heard me talk about how much I like this haircut, and she absolutely despises it.
That was funny.
She despises this haircut like Walsh despises cheaters who take down his favorite fighter and Cody no love Garbrandt.
Yep, won't stand for it.
Which both probably in the same category if you really want to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, let's get to the prelims here. These will start at 5 p.m. Eastern, I believe, on ESPN Plus as well. So really all the cards in one spot. And I do think you still have to make the transition from prelim option to the main card on the app, which just seems kind of dumb. You should just make it one stream continuous.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Yeah, I guess I know they split those things up. Prelims are actually on 4, which is crazy.
4.
Also,
Okay, so
4
we got 4 p.m. prelims.
Yeah.
You're just getting back from the fruit market. You know, you're putting them all away, and then you go, hey, I scratched your back today. You scratched mine. Let me watch MMA with the boys. So there you go. It's a win-win. And on the prelims here, it's actually, I don't know if I'm using my scratch my back card on the prelims. Maybe I'll hold out until 7 for the main card. But you do have some solid fights on this prelims. You got a bantamweight match between Ricardo Ramos and Bill Algeo.
Mhm.
Bill Algeo, the slight favorite here at -120. We have a familiar face in the UFC heavyweight division. Been fighting there since UFC 104. Ben Rothwell taking on Chris
Crazy.
Barnett. It's crazy.
Insane.
That's crazy he's been there for that long. I mean, I know there was a fighter recently released who we're going to talk about a little later who had a little bit more tenure, but still to be there for over 100 UFC events is nuts in itself.
It's very nuts.
Couldn't find odds on that fight for whatever reason, but we'll move on here. We got a welterweight matchup between Court Mcgee and Claudio Silva. Again, we have another pick'em fight here. That's something to probably avoid, like a mafia dude's daughter, I would say, or the Don's daughter, I think is how they say it. I don't know. Haven't watched much Godfather, more of a Sopranos guy, and they don't really lean into that kind of terminology in the mob community. But that's a pick'em fight. Probably avoid that if you're a gambler.
Yeah.
Flyweight, we got Bruno Gustavo da Silva versus Victor Rodriguez. Featherweight, Joshua Kulibao versus Shah Yailan. I'm just gonna say Josh. I'm not gonna say his last name. I'm just gonna refer to him as Josh. Josh is the -250 favorite, while Shah is +210. Sorry. And then lightweight, we have Damir Hadzovic, -120 favorite over veteran Yancy Medeiros, who is the +100 underdog. And guys, I have to say, we talked about back against the wall with Cody Garbrandt. I feel like Yancy Medeiros is kind of in that same boat. We've seen him lose 3 in a row, and there's no shame in these losses either. First one was to Donald Cerrone, loses to Gregor Gillespie, who just recently had a huge performance, and then he lost to Lando Venata. No shame in either of those losses, but I mean, the losses can only pile up for so long in the UFC before they decide to cut you. So he really is fighting with his back against the wall here. So that's probably the most interesting fight for me on the prelims. I feel like Yancey's a guy that always brings it. So I think you're guaranteed a good fight out of this.
Yeah, I think so as well. Good to see Yancey back in there, and same with Ben Rothwell. Crazy he's still in there.
Mhm.
Crazy.
Yeah, like we said, he's been fighting in there since UFC 104. And for those of you who don't know, a little fun fact about Ben Rothwell. He had one of the rare 10-7 rounds scored against him. And this was probably absolutely justified in his UFC debut against Cain Velasquez. Cain beat the piss out of him and hit the co-main event of that card. And someone did score it at 10-7. And, controversy maybe these days about scoring a 10-7. Back then, that was absolutely justified. That was a shellacking for a whole round. And it's props to Rothwell for holding on to that. And not losing at the time. He did lose, but he didn't lose in the first round.
Yeah. No, yeah, that was crazy.
Because that was back when Cain was a killer. Cain was just running through guys in that division. So, yeah, again, props to Rothwell for, like we said, sticking around for, that's 10 years now. About 10 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That's insane. He's got to have stock portfolios from the UFC at this point. They got to give him some options, for being there for that long. It's got to be in his contract.
Yeah, you would think.
You would think. And opening the prelims, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, ESPN Plus, we have the biggest underdog on the card, Rafael Alves versus Damir Ismagulov. Ismagulov is -1, or not -1, -550 favorite. Rafael Alves is the +425 underdog in that lightweight matchup. And that brings me into our next topic here. We have Walsh's Can't Lose Parlay up. And I have to think, this parlay is also brought to you by Collins Auctioneering. Collins Auctioneering, those accusations were proven wrong. But anyways, with a line like this, I have to think, Walsh, are you feeling yourself on this 425 line?
Well, we'll put the hat on for this one. Positive vibes only, as the Walsh's Can't Lose, Won't Lose parlay. We've got a big one in store for you this weekend. We are going to take Cody Garbrandt by knockout, TKO. And then also with that, we're going to include a little Carla Esparza and a little Jack Hermanson and a little Justin Tafa. And you know what? Just for shits and giggles, we're going to throw Ben Rothwell in there by knockout because it's a heavyweight fight. And someone's getting knocked out. That's what happens in the heavyweights. Then, you know what? Why not? We're not going to include him in the parlay. Don't include him in the parlay. This is going to be separate from the parlay. Throw $5 on Rafael Alves. Is this a premium pick now? People, this is a premium pick. Yeah.
If you're listening right now and you didn't pause right before that, you owe us $10 for that premium pick.
At least.
And
yeah, so just throw a little $5 on them because you don't want to be that guy that doesn't pick the big underdog when they win.
Right.
So, if you got the money, just toss it on them. Worst case, you lose $5-10, whatever. You make it back in one of the next fights.
Right.
Yeah.
Even, if you're working at a fast food restaurant and you just want to throw $5 on the fight, guess what? You still got $10 left over from that hour's salary to go spend on whatever. And that's probably like $9 more than what you should be making. So really, regardless, you're still coming out ahead.
Exactly. And that is Walsh's Can't Lose, Won't Lose, positive vibes only parlay for this UFC Vegas 27.
I like it. How did the Walsh's Can't Lose, Won't Lose parlay go for UFC 262 last weekend?
We don't talk about the past. We're looking forward to the future. We're 0-0. So Walsh's Can't Lose, Won't Lose parlay is 0-0.
Man, if only you had that kind of luck with the UFC main event pickoff extravaganza where we could just always look forward and never in the past, but that would kind of defeat the purpose of the whole competition. So there you have it. There's
number 3 in the standings, number 1 in people's hearts. That's all that matters to me.
There we go. So that's Walsh's Can't Lose, Won't Lose parlay brought to you by Collins Auctioneering. And then now we got a new segment where we're doing today. Kind of when we're a little short on stories or, like we say, we have fight night coming up, so we're not really going to get too far in depth for that. So we got debates coming up here. PTI style, round the horn style, whatever show you watch. That's what we're doing it like. And so I'm gonna. ESPN? I believe they are. Surprisingly, people still watch that. So I have the power to, like Tony Rally, mute anyone that I don't agree with. So maybe I will use that depending on how we go through these debates. So Walsh, Mac, I'm going to throw out the first debate topic for you here. And this one's a bit of a hot take. This one's a very unlikely scenario, but I do want to get your thoughts. The UFC buys Bellator in 5 years or less. True or false? Walsh, let's start with you.
False. I think you're going to see a lot of crossover where you're going to see guys coming and going from UFC to Bellator. But no, I like what Bellator's been doing, and I think they're going to build themselves up enough to at least be a somewhat competitor of UFC. I don't think they're going to be as big as UFC ever, and I just don't see them ever deciding to sell to UFC. And plus, I like the idea of having another promotion out there that is, somewhat as popular as the UFC. It gives you, something else to look forward to, and they do it differently where they have fight cards on Friday nights. We were talking about in our group text earlier, we'd love to see more Friday night cards because, not many things going on Friday nights typically. So right. I like Bellator. I would like to hope that they don't have to get to the point where they have to sell because essentially you're just going to be, even 5 years from now, it's going to end up being you're bringing back the UFC guys that you cut. So, right. I mean, the UFC roster is already too big as it is. So I don't see the point in UFC buying Bellator in the future.
All right, Mac, are you on the same page here?
Yeah, I'll say false, especially in 5 years. I don't know. I mean, I think Bellator is definitely on the rise. I mean, they have some of the best prospects in the sport for sure. And then, they have some of the best fighters in the sport, 100%. So they're growing and they're getting bigger. And so they won't be on UFC's level, probably never, but it'll get competitive, and it is competitive right now. I mean, they have some good fighters, and I think we'll see some crossover as well. I think we'll see, Bellator fighters come to UFC and vice versa. I think we'll see both happen in these next 5 years quite a bit. We'll see.
So you guys do agree it's just going to be more of the same going forward? I mean, we have seen UFC fighters go to Bellator. We've seen Bellator champions like Michael Chandler just fought this past weekend, for example. We've seen guys like Will Brooks. And there's another guy whose name escapes me, but he was also a Polish grappler, also came from Bellator to the UFC. I wish I could remember his name, but so more of the same going forward, which I think is okay. I think when coming up for topics for tonight, I was like, I'm seeing a lot of similarities here. I'm seeing Scott Coker in a CEO position. I'm seeing him bringing a MMA promotion to Showtime, and I'm just getting flashbacks here of the Strikeforce deal to Zuffa. It's just something to keep in the back of your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, never say never, but I just don't think it happens. At least, like Max said, not that soon.
Okay. Like I said, tinfoil hat on that one. But let's move on here. Greatest heavyweight of all time, Mac. Let's start with you.
I mean, it's got to be Stipe. I think it's Stipe. I think you can make an argument for Fedor and maybe even Cain Velasquez, but Stipe for now. I think Francis Ngannou will probably get there at some point if he keeps winning, of course, and beats John Jones as well. But yeah, I think Stipe is hard to deny him that crown. I mean, he's definitely the most. He's the most title defenses in heavyweight history. So I'll go Stipe.
All right, Walsh.
I want to go off the cuff here because we don't know who the greatest heavyweight is of all time yet. Well, and that's because he hasn't fought at heavyweight yet, and his name is John Jones.
Could be.
That is going to be in the end who the greatest heavyweight of all time is going to be John Bones Jones. Right now, though, I can't really disagree with Mac. It's got to be Stipe. I mean, he's beaten DC, who as much as I'm not a fan of DC's fight style, I would have had him probably my number 2. But with Stipe beating him, I think Stipe has got to take the title as greatest of all time until John Jones fights.
Remind me to make a note that we need to get like one of those wacky radio sound guys. So whenever you bring up John Jones being the heavyweight GOAT, I can just have him play a huge fart sound or a womp womp. Because I don't think it'll happen. Like you say, he's not the heavyweight division yet, so we don't know what's going to happen with him there. I mean, it's possible. But I think for me, I'm going to have to go old school like Mac did, bring up Fedor Emelianenko. That's a guy for me that just ran rampant through a very tough pride heavyweight division where we saw the Antonio Nogueira in his prime, Mirko Krokop. You had guys like Josh Barnett and Heath Herring, Sergey Kiritanov. I mean, for me, he's just someone that there's an aura around him. Obviously, that aura has been gone. More recently he's fought because he has gotten up there in age. But man, there was just something about Fedor fights back in the day that were just like, how is he going to win this time or overcome adversity? And not to discredit Stipe or any other guys that are currently fighting, but that guy just has an aura to me that always just screams the best heavyweight of all time.
Yeah, I mean the argument's certainly there for Fedor, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think his management's one that really shot him in the foot there on trying to really put that theory to the test in the UFC, wanting to co-promote and be. Because for people that don't know, Fedor, when he was in negotiations with the UFC, they wanted to co-promote. They wanted to say UFC and M1 Global present UFC whatever number they're on. And I mean, that's absurd. You're never going to see the UFC do that. And they rightfully so. But man, you just got to wonder how he would have fared in the heavyweight division in the UFC.
Yeah. No, it's very, it's one of those big what ifs in the sport for sure. Yeah,
it is. And another what if here. What if you were going to be a UFC fighter? We're going to start with Walsh here. Jiu-jitsu versus striking. Which one are you mastering before you step into the octagon?
Striking. I want to be that electric knockout guy, whether, I feel like would bring in the most money right away. And I feel like it probably sounds ignorant of me, so no disrespect to any jiu-jitsu experts out there, but I feel like you can learn that as you go. Striking, once you get that power down, that's tough to really combat other than, wrestling. But, yeah, give me striking. I'm going in there. I'm throwing haymakers. I'm knocking somebody out, doing flying head kicks, whatever I need to do. I'm going to make sure my fights are always just electric.
Now, Mac, I have to think with Rob Font being a Boston guy, you being a Boston guy, Calvin Kattar being a Boston guy, I feel like the answer's already kind of there for you. What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's striking is probably the smartest just because it starts on the feet. If it didn't start on the feet, it's certainly going to be jiu-jitsu. But, the fights start on the feet, so you got to know how to strike. Right. You have to. And you best know jiu-jitsu as well at some point. It takes 10 years at least to get your black belt. So lots of work goes into that. It'd be striking just because it starts on the feet, and you just gotta need to know how to throw your hands and kicks.
Yeah, so in the words of the Ultimate Fighter contestant Julian Lane, you guys just want to bang, bro?
Yeah,
just want to bang.
All right, and I will let you guys bang. Just on record, I will let you bang, bro. All right, so here we go. We have a scenario here for you guys. Hopefully by the end of the year, we do see this. Winner of Conor versus Dustin goes against Charles Oliveira for the lightweight title. We're saying over under 1 million buys. Walsh, we'll go ahead and start with you.
That's tough. If it's Conor, over, but if it's Dustin, I don't think it goes over.
Is it close though? Is it close? Because we did see the numbers today.
Close.
You think it's close? Okay. Because we did see the numbers today. UFC 262 did 300,000 domestic pay-per-view buys behind ESPN Plus. Pretty good, all things considered. So
I could see for Dustin, I could see maybe 6 to 7.
Okay.
But I can't see the million. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's a lot more popular than I think. I also think it'll depend on, if he ends up beating Conor, how he beats him. Because that'll be back-to-back wins over, a fan favorite and someone that, really gets the casuals involved. So, I don't know. We'll see. But if it's Dustin, I say under. If it's Conor, I say over.
Okay, Mac, do you agree?
Wait, what is the question? McGregor-Poirier 2 pay-per-view buys?
No. So the winner of McGregor versus Poirier is probably next in line to get a title shot. So we're saying when they do fight Oliveira, whether that's Dustin or Conor, does over under 1 million pay-per-view buys?
Yeah, of course, Conor's going to do over 1 million whoever he fights. So
Right.
it'll be over $1 million if it was Connor. I think if it's Dustin, it'd be I have to go with Keith. I mean, it'd probably be in that six or 700, I would say. I mean, Dustin's very, very popular. He's bigger than Charles, for sure. So, I think 6 or 7 would probably be in that range. And that's a good number, to be honest.
Okay. I think I would tend to agree with you guys. I do think it would be closer than people think, though, to that 1 million mark.
Yeah.
Because you have to think they're going to put a couple of good fights under that. And Poirier, like you said, depends on how he beats McGregor. If he does beat him, I guess I'm talking to 2 McGregor fans here. But if that does happen, we'll see, what that leads for Dustin down the road in terms of star power. But that kind of ties into the last debate topic I have here tonight. So we're about halfway point of the year. It's been a quick 2021. We've seen some exciting fights. We've seen some title changes. We've seen some title defenses. And my question is, the UFC champion landscape right now, does it stay the same by the end of the year? And I'll run down the champions real quick, and I'll just let you guys do a little rapid fire, maybe a little explanation if you think a title changes hands. So let's start with the heavyweight division. Francis Ngannou, Walsh, is that staying the same this end of the year?
Yes, because I don't think the John Jones fight happens this year.
So you're thinking Francis does beat Derek Lewis in his first title defense?
Yes.
Okay. Max, same question to you. Francis Ngannou, UFC champion?
Yes.
So again, you have him over Derek Lewis. Do we think the John Jones fight happens before the end of the year? Walsh doesn't. Do you agree?
Probably not at this point. I mean, we'll see. They can throw fights together pretty fast if they come to an agreement. So, kind of hard to tell, but it's definitely leaning towards unlikely.
Okay, and next up we have the light heavyweight division. Again, I feel like this is another carousel of champions division here. Mac, let's start with you. Jan Blachowicz, UFC light heavyweight champion by the end of the year?
Yes. Yeah, I think he gets it done over Glover in September, and then he might not even fight for the rest of the year after that. So,
okay, Walsh, do you agree?
Yep. Yeah, I can't see him losing to Glover, and then by the time he fights, I can't see him getting right back in the octagon before January at least.
Okay, and I guess that's kind of hoping he does have a turnaround there. For me, I do think if he does fight Yuri at the end of the year card, I think that's Yuri's fight to take, and I think he wins the title. But like we said, we don't know if that'll happen. We don't know with that title defense against Glover coming in September. We don't know if he'll take the rest of the year off, want to get back in the octagon before the end of 2021. So we'll go ahead and mark him down, still champion at the end of the year. Middleweight, and I have a hot take about this one, but I want to start with Keith here. Israel Stylebender Adesanya, UFC champion by the end of the year?
This is tough because I don't know. I wanted the obvious choice, I feel like, is yes. But if I think there is a possibility he could lose to Vettori. I really do. And if he that would be, I think, the biggest concern. I'm gonna go against myself here because I want to pick against Izzy and say Vettori ends up winning that next fight, but I think Izzy stays the champ.
All right, Mac, you agree?
Yeah, I can pick against Izzy after his loss against Blachowicz. I think he's going to be much improved and probably as good as he'll ever be against Vettori. So we'll see.
So you think he comes out and proves the naysayers wrong about his takedown defense in this fight against Vettori?
Yeah, I think he absolutely rocks Vettori and absolutely dominates him. I think he really messes him up.
I'm with Walter where I'm a little indecisive on it, but I definitely could see him losing. But again, like you said, Mac, he could go on just in style bend like he usually does. Welterweight, I think we all know the answer to this one. Kamaru Usman's not losing that belt by the end of the year.
Probably not. Colby has the best chance, so I would love to see that happen. But very difficult to fit against Kamaru at this point.
I dislike Kamaru Usman so much that I'm saying he's not the champion by the end of the year because he gets knocked out by Colby Covington.
Wow. So we got the Colby train. The Colby train is having Walsh as the conductor. We think Colby Covington. We think the fight happens. I don't know if the fight happens. If I'm being honest.
I'm not too sure if it'll happen.
That's what's going to end up screwing me here, is because I don't think the fight happens until like early next year, if at all.
Yeah,
and that's what's going to end up screwing me.
Like, I think he fights Chiesa, and then, like I said, I don't know if because Colby's just outpricing himself, and I think it's honestly like he just doesn't. He wants the fight, but he doesn't want the fight at the same time.
It's possible.
Yeah.
And let's not discount Michael Chiesa, by the way, too. Chiesa gets that fight. That's going to be a good one.
That is trouble. I mean, his size will definitely be a problem for Usman if that fight does come to fruition and gets a date. And that's something we'll look into. If that, like I said, that fight happens, we'll break it down for the event. Lightweight, again, a carousel champions division. We got Charles Oliveira. I have to think when I got two McGregor fans sitting below me, they think he's getting the belt back by the end of the year.
I don't think. I'm not very confident Connor's going to get the belt back. I'm not too sure if that's going to happen, but I do think that it's going to be very difficult for Charles to hold on to that. So whether that be Dustin or Justin or whoever, I think we'll probably get the belt by the end of the year. But it's going to be tough, man. Very tough. So we'll see.
All right, Walsh, you in the same boat?
0 chance Oliveira has that belt by the end of the year.
Oliveira.
I don't think it's McGregor. But I don't think he wins his first title defense. Like I said, I wasn't sold on him beating Chandler. He surprised me. I'm still not sold on him, though, because he was rocked. He almost lost that fight. So I don't think he wins his first title defense.
Okay, that's fair. Like I said, I call it the Carousel Champions division for a reason. As much as I love the story, Charles Oliveira fighting 10 years before he gets the title in the UFC. And as much as I love him as a fighter, I just think there's a lot of anything could happen in that division, and I just don't see him walking out the year as champion.
Yeah.
Featherweight, we have Alexander Volkanowski. Now, his only fight of 2021 is probably going to end up being this Brian Ortega fight because they're coaching the Ultimate Fighter together. That's going to logjam them up for a couple months. So, I mean, really, it comes down to, do you think Ortega beats Volkanowski? Walsh, let's start with you.
No. I think Volkanowski carries the title into 2022.
Okay. Mac?
I'll say Ortega. I'm a big supporter of Ortega. I mean, I love Volkanovski. He's a beast, but I think Ortega can give us some issues. So I'll say Ortega. Okay,
and let's go to Bantamweight here. This is another Carousel Champions division, but there's a little asterisk at the top of that division. It all just depends on Sterling could very well get stripped of this title if he leans into being the heel in the eyes of the fans and the company. He might not even have a loss in the octagon. He could very well just get stripped of the title. So I mean, this is probably the surest thing I think in any of the debates we're going to have about the UFC champions going into 2022. This guy's not walking on into that year with the title. Mac.
Yeah, no, don't. If it's, I mean, Sterling is the title holder, so I don't believe it'll be Sterling. I think it could very well be Jan, could be Sandhagen, could be Rob Font, could be Cody Garbrandt, could be TG Dillashaw. It's absolutely endless, to be honest. So very difficult. I think this is probably the most likely champion to not have the belt, I would say.
And before we get to Walsh here, I want to ask you, Mac, is he beat or is he stripped of the title?
Sterling?
Yeah.
I think Peter Yan will beat him whenever they fight.
Okay. Walsh, let's go to you.
No chance Sterling has his title any longer. It's just not going to happen. He's going to lose his first title defense. He didn't deserve to have it to begin with, in my opinion. And, yeah.
I mean, I can't disagree with you guys. I throw in the stripped. Could he be stripped just based off of how he's handled, winning the title and, opting for this neck surgery that a lot of people are wondering, you're backing up the division here. Like, what's going on? A lot of people are really wondering what's going on there. So, yeah, I definitely does not walk out of there at the title in 2022. No. Flyweight, Devison Figueiredo matched up against Brandon Moreno for the second time at UFC 263. And personally, I think he loses the title there. I'm just a big Moreno fan. So obviously I'm in the camp of he's losing the title. Walsh, do you agree?
I do. I actually am with you here. I think Moreno comes out in their next fight and takes the title. If he doesn't, though, then I do think Figueroa stays with the title for going into 2022. One, because I'm not sure he'll fight again, because I think it's going to be another all-out war between those two. So like I said, I don't know if we'll get another fight in 2021, but if Moreno's not the one to beat him, I think he holds on to that for the foreseeable future, at least.
All right, Max, same question to you. Deiveson Figueiredo, walking into 2022, the UFC flyweight champion? Yes, no, maybe so?
Yes, he will be. I think he gets it done versus Moreno in another great fight coming up next month. So I believe in Figueiredo. I think he's a little too tough to handle for Moreno, but going to be a good one. But I believe in Figueiredo.
Oh, thank you, because I'm actually riding with him next month, and so a little spoiler alert for the UFC Pickoff Extravaganza. I'm going to pick Moreno. Anyways, let's move on to the women.
Figueiredo.
Well, I mean, not that it matters. I mean, I'm going to win, so I'm just kidding. We're just here to have fun. Women's featherweight, women's bantamweight. We're going to combine them because I don't see either championship being taken from Amanda Nunes. Does she walk into 2022 a two division champion? Walsh.
Looking at all the women champions, can we just combine all of them? Because I don't think there's a single one of them that loses their title this year.
Really,
No.
the only one is Rose if they were to match her up with Wiley Zhang again, or something like that. And again, a close fight. I don't think it's because Rose is not a worthy champion. I just think Wiley Zhang is going to be hungry to come back after that head kick knockout, and she very well could take down Thug Rose. But yeah, Amanda Nunes, Shevchenko are not losing their titles in 2021, and I will bet Walsh's future kid's child college fund on that.
Yeah. Thank you for starting that for them, by the way, too.
No, it's not started. You're starting it eventually, but if they were to lose, I'm just going to take that right back out and pay the fans. So
Gotcha.
Max in the same boat as well. So there we go. There's our UFC champions heading into 2022. It's a little early to say, but you know what? We're at the halfway point, so fuck it. We can do what we want. It's our show. You don't like it, go start your own MMA show under the Branded Sports umbrella.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
No, don't do that. Actually,
don't actually, because then like people are gonna get confused. It's gonna be like NWO versus NWO Wolfpack, and we're like, we don't know.
Yeah.
Like we'll start to wearing red face paint during the show. It'll be.
I was gonna say dibs on the Wolfpack theme song, though. Dibs on the Wolfpack theme song.
Banger of a theme song. Did you guys know that guy is in prison who made it? His name is C Murder, and he's actually in prison for murder.
I would have never guessed it.
No, that name kind of gave it away.
But
let's end the show tonight with some news roundup here. We have Henry Cejudo saying he wants 3 titles. He wants to win the flyweight through featherweight title, and he did it in the most Henry Cejudo way of all time on Twitter. Just the king of cringe, living up to his nickname here. Do we think this happens if he comes back? I feel like Dana's been pretty mum on bringing back Cejudo because he's like, you can take your ball and go home. It's okay.
I hope he does. He can stay home. I've had enough Henry Cejudo. If I never saw him inside the octagon again, I'd be perfectly fine with it. Him and LeBron James are the 2 most cringeworthy athletes of all time.
I will give you that, but I'll give Cejudo credit. He kind of leans into it.
He does, but I hate it.
Yeah,
I hate him.
It's a little cringe, like you said. He leans into it. I think it makes it a little bit more easier for me to process. Mac, are you in the same boat here?
I love Cejudo. I think he's gonna come back eventually. I'm not too sure when though. I don't. It's hard to tell when. I think he's looking for a big payday, and he'll get it if he waits long enough. I think versus the right opponent.
I can see that too. I think I'm going to have to go with you too. 2-1 against Walsh here that we want to see Cejudo back in the octagon. Also, we have UFC shutting down a boxing match between George St. Pierre and Oscar De La Hoya. George St. Pierre really took it in stride. As someone that's not really a fan of, like, I don't tune in to see these boxing matches. I know Tyson versus Roy Jones I kept up with on social media, but none of these, like, I don't even call them dream matchup. These crossover boxing matches just don't do it for me. So, I mean, I wish the UFC would have let GSP go do it just because he's not going to fight anytime soon in their promotion. But at the same time, I'm just not that invested in that kind of fight. I mean, are you guys in the same boat?
Yeah. Maybe like 10 years ago would have been cool, but now I don't. It's not something I need to see, nor do I really care about, especially after all the celebrity boxing things that we've seen. There's only been a few really good ones. I mean, the McGregor-Mayweather was entertaining, but other than that, I don't know. Just I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah, I don't need it either. It just doesn't. It doesn't really get me excited. You know, I want like real fighters in the octagon, and I don't need to watch. I just don't need to watch it. I pay enough for UFC fights, honestly.
Facts.
That you don't want to drop $60 on a Post Malone concert and a GSP Oscar De La Hoya fight.
No, I'd literally rather just like go to bed.
I thought you were gonna say die. I was like, is he?
I was trying to think of like something ridiculous. I couldn't though.
I'd rather go to bed, buddy. I fell asleep during the Dariush Ferguson fight last weekend. I'm all about going to bed during fights. That's just called getting old. Oh man! So I mean, this probably takes me out of the running for what this next topic is. Bellator is welcoming fans back in a limited capacity. As I said, I fall asleep during fights. I don't think I'm someone that should pay money to go to a fight. Having said that, but what do we think about that? It's kind of cool to see other promotions get back to a sense of normalcy. You know, UFC is obviously running full capacity shows. Bellator obviously taking a little bit more precaution. So it is good to see that we're seeing fans come back.
Yeah. It's long overdue.
Yeah.
Long overdue. Mac, you were actually, we've talked about before, you had your Bellator UFC or Bellator 258 experience there. Do you think the stage is going to have to change a little bit being there? And with no fans, was it a little different? You think you'll have to go to a different stage design, or do you think it's going to stay relatively the same?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be much different. I think the stage is probably the same. But yeah, I mean, there was no really seats in the arena open, so they'll have that all open, and yeah, I think it would look a lot different. I asked one of the guys when I was there, and he was like, "Yeah, no, it looks significantly different with the fans in the stands, as you can imagine." So.
All right, yeah, that should be interesting to see. I don't remember when show they said they were going to start doing that with. I want to say it was 260 and 261, if I'm not mistaken. They'll start welcoming fans into the arena, but until then, we're going to be no fans for Bellator 259 coming up this weekend, where Chris Cyborg Santos will be facing Leslie Smith for the second time with the title on the line. Are we thinking that's going to be a fight that is competitive here? I mean, we've seen Cyborg still kind of maintain this kind of superhero status, even though Amanda Nunes does seem to have her number. Do we think Cyborg wins?
Yeah, it's hard to pick against Cyborg, much like Amanda and Valentina. It's very difficult to pick against her. So, safe bet would be Cyborg, and yeah, I mean Leslie's pretty good. I believe, yeah, she fought in the UFC for a decent amount of time, so she's good. But I mean, Cyborg is another level, so.
She is, and speaking of another level, we are probably all universally on another universal level of happiness here. Diego Sanchez tells MMAfighting.com in a statement he has severed all professional ties with the guru, Joshua Fabia. I mean, I think a lot of us probably didn't see this happening for at least another couple of years. Glad to see it happen now.
Yeah, very good for Diego. Good for him. Definitely should do whatever he needs to do to continue his career if he wants to do that. I mean, if he doesn't want to keep fighting, then he's certainly done enough to not do that. So good for him. Very good for him.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping we would see him back in the UFC, whether that is for that eventual retirement fight. We'll see. Or maybe just even in an ambassador role. Like I said, he's a pioneer of the sport, was the first Ultimate Fighter winner. And the UFC was really kind of sad to let him go. It was kind of the circumstances. Their hand was forced. They still paid him his win and show money on the way out. So I think that kind of shows things didn't end on the worst terms. I think they kind of saw the situation going on. So hopefully we do see that relationship mended sooner rather than later with UFC and Diego Sanchez. I know another fighter that seems to kind of be under the grasp of Joshua Fabia is another Ultimate Fighter, once veteran, in Stephan Bonner. Hopefully that is also leading to a trickle-down effect where he cuts ties with him as well, because I think we can all agree this Joshua Fabia is a scumbag. The way he's kind of handled Diego's career in the latter part of the UFC, and just the way, I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen training videos with this guy. He's got a video of him having Diego hanging upside down and just kicking him in the face for no reason.
Yeah, it's disturbing stuff. I mean, it's kind of hard to like even really put it into words. You know, it's very unfortunate, that relationship. So I'm very glad it's done.
Yeah, and for people wondering if this is legitimate or not, Diego did make all of these statements through his attorney, if that gives you any inclination on just where this is going now. And I just imagine a shitstorm is going to be brewing with Joshua Fabia releasing God knows what kind of stories going forward to just kind of play the role of the crazy X. But we're not the crazy X's here.
He'll have a full documentary on it. Full documentary.
The next pandemic we have, this will be our Tiger King. It will be Joshua Fabia, Joshua Exotic. It's going to be the spiritual king, the king of self-awareness, as he likes to call himself. But that's going to wrap up the show for tonight. Like we said, we have Bellator 259 coming up this weekend, where Chris Cyborg Santos will be defending her title against Leslie Smith. We will have Invicta FC also on Friday night, starting at 8 p.m. It's going to be their debut on Access TV. If you got that, you're going to want to watch it. Lower weight class for the women's division. It's actually a whole promotion dedicated to women's fighting. You're going to see some top-notch fights on there. And then obviously we broke down the UFC Vegas 27 card happening at 7 p.m. on ESPN Plus on Saturday. Follow the show on Twitter at Branded MMA. Follow Walsh on Twitter at Keith_Walsh18. Follow Mac on Twitter, who is still muted. I don't know if he knows that he's muted right now. But yeah, there we go. We hear him. He's clapping right now because he's happy the show is over. Follow Mac on Twitter at Ryan McCarthy10. That is MacCarthy10. I am Xavi. This is the Branded MMA Show. We'll see you guys next Tuesday.